Here's an amazing story about performing with effortlessness and soul under pressure. So I was in the recording studio yesterday with one of my ensembles. It's called Ananda. We're a meditative music ensemble. We use crystal singing bowls and tabla and violin, guitar. It's really beautiful music. And I love playing with this group. This is our third time in the recording studio. If you want to hear our music, you can go to my YouTube channel at Soulforce Arts. And anyway, so we were in this recording session and we experienced something that so many other musicians and other performing artists, many of us experience, which was, here's this high pressure situation where we want to make beautiful recordings. We want them to sound the best. We don't want to be messing up, even though it's improv music, what we're doing. It's still, there's a certain standard that we want to reach of musical excellence and expression, giving the audience, the listeners, an experience of something beautiful and contemplative, transportive, really. And so we want to do really well while we're in here, and we only have a short amount of time. There's only a certain amount of energy that each of us has. We can't be recording for 10 hours or something. It's just not going to work. And so we want to get it right. And so what was happening, we were recording the first piece. I think went really well. I was feeling really fresh, and my ideas, actually all of our ideas worked together really beautifully to create the shape of the piece. But then the next couple felt kind of restrained. We weren't playing as freely as we normally do when we get together and jam in our monthly house concerts. And so we stopped after the next two recordings, and we talked about it. Hey, this isn't feeling quite right. And so we made a couple adjustments. We're all kind of sitting far apart from each other, so we moved closer. And then we also talked about that feeling of restraint, and my contribution in that moment was to think about the psychology of restraint, the psychology of holding back and trying to get it right, and how to release that even under pressure, because that's the real key. And that's what Soulforce is all about. I wrote a whole book about this. Basically, Soulforce is how to remain connected to your wholeness, aliveness, to your vitality, to your ease, to the essence of who you are, even in moments of pressure, high challenge moments. And so I was thinking about the ways we could let go of the restraints that we were feeling and get to our soul force. And so what I asked each of us in the group was, well, what's an inner resource, some kind of quality or trait that you have inside you that you might be able to access to be able to let go of the restraint despite having this high pressure situation of the recording session. And I'll just share the first thing that came up for me, which was love, self-love. So much of the trouble that happens is, like with performance anxiety and tension, is the fear that if I make a mistake, I won't be lovable, or it's like not good enough. We all have stories like that. And yeah, and I think a lot of you might be able to empathize with this kind of moment, right? And that kind of psychology. You've been on stage, you've been in the recording studio, you've taken auditions, you've been under pressure in certain times, and maybe you can even think now, what were you, what was the cause of your stress, your anxiety, your self-doubts, your tension in those moments? What was the underlying thought? And you might recognize, oh yeah, it's like some fear of unworthiness, some fear of rejection, abandonment, unlovability, that kind of thing. And so this is really common, right? And the one of the challenges around this is that our culture has a kind of a fix-it attitude. And it's kind of a forceful attitude that we can take towards ourselves. And what a lot of people do is they try to cover up the feelings or just try to make them go away. This is why a lot of artists drink or do drugs. Or you even use more tame kinds of drugs like beta blockers, right? A lot of people use those. But those aren't a root cause solution. You still have that baggage in your psychology, even when you're doing all this stuff. And, relaxation techniques can be really good as well. But what are you going to do in the moment? How do you change your fundamental attitude towards the high pressure situation? Well, you got to deal with these underlying beliefs. And so what you can do, just very simply, is to think about that situation, that high pressure situation, and ask yourself, what inner resources would I need to be able to play with ease and soul, even in this situation? And you just wait for an answer to come up. And maybe a couple will come up, and you can keep asking yourself. And then you can imagine that situation again, having those, while accessing those inner resources, such as self-love, or trust that everything's going to be okay, or even if trust that you'll be okay even if people abandon you, right? So if you can imagine accessing those inner resources in that moment of pressure, then you see how that changes things for you. And so this is basically what I talked about in the recording session, and it certainly changed things for me and for the rest of us. We played several more tracks, and we had so much more variety in energy levels and timbres and textures and emotional colors, all kinds of things. And it was so much more dynamic, giving ourselves permission to make mistakes and have fun with that, right? So that's so key to retaining the flow, retaining the ease, retaining the soul, the heart and soul, which is the whole fudging point of recording and performing, right? You want all those things to come across. In a sense, the notes are, they're important. They're the vehicle for all of this, but they're not the most important thing. So having tools for being able to retain and enhance your flow, your ease, your soul under pressure, so key. It was one of the primary performance techniques that you don't get taught in music school. At least I didn't. And which a lot of people are really a lack that a lot of people are really suffering from. So let me bring things back in here for a close. So the key then is to be able to have, I guess, connection with a deeper source of creativity, a deeper source of flow and ease than you can access simply through stress and pressure and trying to force yourself to get it right and basically freaking out under pressure. None of that's going to work. And there are other tools, like imagining your audience is naked, but that has limited use. It might work once or twice, but the underlying fears are still there. And if you want to be able to access that flow and soul under pressure, then you need to go deeper. And you need to become more resourced as a human being. And the good news is that this is actually pretty simple, pretty easy if you know what processes to use. And you can use the one that I described in this video today. And if you want some more support about that, I encourage you to reach out. You can book a call with me through my website, and we'll get to know each other a little bit and get to know your goals and your challenges, and I'll help clarify your path to being able to play free from all these blockages that you might not be experiencing. And these blockages could look like a lot of things, like tension and injuries and performance anxiety and self-doubt, and just the feeling that you're not reaching your full potential as a performer. You're not able to play as freely as you'd like. So please go ahead and book a call. I'm going to have some free resources coming up, PDF on my website pretty soon, and some courses coming out as well. So if you want to learn about all that, you can get on my mailing list. That'd be the best way to stay in touch. And you'll get the new free resources as I send them, as I create them in the next couple weeks. Okay, I think that's all for now. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, let me know in the comments below. You can send any questions to me either in the comments here, over social media, or through my website. And that's all for today. Hope you found that helpful.